Hello, Watson.
Good morning, Lestrade. You are an early riser.
Good morning, Lestrade. You look really tired. You must have had a lengthy meeting with the minister.
But hold on. How on earth could you know that, Holmes?
I can read you like an open book. I jest with you, gentlemen.
It's not the proper time for jesting, Holmes. But upon my word, how did you find out about the minister? I was assured that only 3 or 4 persons at most had knowledge of this meeting.
Oh, I would rather withhold my explanation.
So you must be aware of the subject of the meeting.
Indeed, but Dr. Watson knows nothing of these events.
Well, our incorruptible yet ever practical minister shared the thoughts of the Chancellor of the Exchequer with me. They've decided that it would be most imprudent, given the crisis we're under, for a young lady barely 18 years of age to take control over one of the country's 3 biggest building enterprises.
I begin to understand, but...
According to the minister, despite his bad habits due to the lack of consideration for his partner, Grimble is the only individual that the council has faith in to reverse the current state of the Bromsby holdings. It was further explained to me that if there is a choice to make in the direction of my investigation, and lacking any new evidence to the contrary, I must take these concerns into account.
This is outrageous.
And you, Lestrade, what are your personal thoughts on the matter?
I really can't say, Holmes. The prospect offered by Grimble seems so attractive. He had credible motive to murder Bromsby and then foul it. In addition, he was the only individual with apparent access to the shed at the cement factory where we discovered the corpse of his presumed accomplice. However, the only gadfly to this theory is his statement to Dr. Watson when he clearly renounced all rights of succession.
That is an item of singular curiosity.
It is difficult for me to believe that a man who could plan and execute 2 or 3 murders with such cool presence of mind would give up an opportunity of this magnitude so easily. I also have spent sufficient time at Sherringford Hall to have a high opinion of Lieutenant Harrington.
I agree with you. This young man, by all accounts, has an unimpeachable character.
I have no evidence to cast doubt on the truthfulness of his testimony. We reconstructed the crime, and it was evident from where he stood he could easily see Miss Bromsby despite the crowd. Really, Holmes, I'm not a man who would hand over an innocent girl to the executioner, even should it cost me my career.
I am pleased to hear you say this, Lestrade. By the way, Lestrade, have you any knowledge of the place known as Aston's Theatre?
Is it that shabby theatre that lies near the bank of the Thames?
Yes, several weeks ago it was acquired by the Fairfax Theatre Company. Their international tour appears to have been most successful, as they are set to open their new play in a week. Dwight Richards happens to be their director.
You mean the author of the threatening letter that we found on Bromsby's desk? I must admit, I thought the letter to be of small consequence. After all, it involved a matter from so long ago.
Sometimes old wounds are the most painful. In fact, we are leaving for Aston's right now. I know that you are quite busy, but if you feel like joining us, meet us at noon. This might be interesting. Aston's Theatre. Here we are.
We are not open to the public yet, gentlemen. Oh, bless my soul. I can hardly believe my eyes. It is the young Sherlock Holmes, isn't it?
Watson, allow me to present Philotomy Kirby, who in his day was one of the last great hopes of the popular stage. He also took great pains to advance my comprehension of the many subtleties of the theatrical arts.
So he can still prattle away. Don't listen to him. This is the most talented student I've ever met, upon my word, as an actor. But those days are past. So, am I speaking to the former actor or the world-renowned detective today?
Tell me, what you know about the Fairfax Theatre Troupe?
2 months ago, they returned from an international tour. Richards, their director, had managed to secure the necessary funds to buy back Aston's. It seems he had finally resolved his troubles.
He was in some kind of trouble.
Oh, It's always the same with those tours abroad. Your star actress marries an emir. Another time the entire troupe has their luggage stolen. Anything is possible, and whatever occurs is usually nothing good. But who would have imagined such a tragedy?
What tragedy?
Their last tour started about 3 years ago. At that time, the troupe was housed at the Fairfax Theatre. But a series of failures forced the owners to sell it at a substantial loss. The owners were 3 individuals: Dwight Richards, their current director, Miss Davenport, their star actress and the mistress of Richards, and lastly, a young actor, costumier, make-up man called Jeffries. They decided, after the sale, to launch an international tour in order to raise funds.
Their success was assured?
Yes, the fame of English theatre is worldwide. During their travels, Jeffries and Miss Davenport developed a close relationship, which was much to the regret of the hot-headed Richards. He is a gypsy by birth. No one can be more possessive and quick-tempered than a gypsy.
Pray continue.
In short, a dark tragedy occurred in a village in Latin America, located not far from the Amazon. One evening, after their performance, someone noticed that Miss Davenport and Jeffries had gone missing. The local authorities were notified, and the alarm was raised.
And Richards?
Richards was implicated in some manner, it seems to me. However, there was no proof of his involvement, and no bodies were ever found.
What a strange case.
If you need more details, you should ask the actors. As you may observe, they are rarely able to hold their tongues.
I will see you later, Kirby.
Yes, it was good seeing you again.
Hello, young man. What are you looking at?
Oh, I'm sorry. You startled me. I'm looking at her. Her. Are you from the press? Of course you are. You must be here to interview her. Ah, the play is wonderful, and Miss Caroline will surely shine. If only my father could have seen this day.
Your father?
Yes, I am Bruce Aston, and my father was Clyde Aston, the former owner of the theatre. It may have fallen into some disrepair, but during its time it was well loved by so many. A host of young actors debuted on that venerated stage. Why, it was at this very spot where Mr. Richards first met Miss Davenport.
Have you ever heard of the Fairfax Theatre?
It is the theatre which was demolished. It seems to me that it had been owned by Mr. Richards together with Miss Davenport and a friend of theirs. They left on an extended tour, but I think it went badly for them. After his return, Mr. Richards bought the theatre back from the bank, and I do hope his good fortune will continue.
Well, we can hope.
With the talented Miss Caroline, I think anything is possible, and the building is still solid and comfortable. Though the bank took over the theatre, they left the keys. From time to time, I would do what I could to tidy up a bit or see to a broken window.
Are you a part of the troupe?
Yes, when Mr. Richards noticed how I had worked to keep the place up, he hired me. I helped Mr. Kirby a little, and also Mr. Trumpet backstage.
Goodbye, young man.
Goodbye, sir.
Excuse me, may I ask you some questions?
Naturally, I'm listening to you.
You are rehearsing at the moment, aren't you?
Yes, we are in rehearsal for the play we are to perform at the month end. Are you critics or reporters? As you know, we just came back from an extended tour. We were a triumph everywhere we performed.
Tell us about this international tour.
We performed in France, in Switzerland, and even for an Arab prince. We were met with acclaim at every stop. If tragedy had not occurred, we were to appear next in New York. But fate had other plans for us.
What sort of tragedy?
Oh, surely you must have heard about it. All because of those in our company who assumed the right to reveal every distasteful and intimate detail of a most tragic event. Anything to gain publicity for themselves. It is positively scandalous. But even a professional actor such as myself respects the privileges of the press and the public's right to know.
Your sensitivity honours you.
Please, continue your story.
The events took place in a most sordid place in Brazil named Guacamole or Babiamo or something like that. I still can't stop asking myself what we were doing there in the first place. But to be brief, our talented costumier, Mr. Jeffries, had been having a tete-a-tete with the beautiful Miss Davenport. Unfortunately, she was still very much the mistress of our director, Mr. Richards. I tell you, the tension was unbearable.
Really?
In the view of a professional, they were the worst hours of my life. Miss Davenport was spending the whole day closeted in her room. Mr. Jeffries trembled so uncontrollably that he was unable to do our makeup. Mr. Richards stepped in, and I must say, he was a pitiful substitute. May you never be so ill-fortuned as to have your face in his large, hairy hands.
And then?
Our first performance in that town was naturally well received. That very night, a tragedy took place. Mr. Jeffries and Miss Davenport went missing not long after the performance ended. It was impossible to find them. Then we heard that Mr. Richards was arrested on suspicion of murder regarding Miss Davenport and Mr. Jeffries. We were outraged and most indignant. Some entertained thoughts that we would never leave that godforsaken place.
How was the matter resolved?
Fortunately for Mr. Richards and all of us, the prison warden and local chief of police was an Englishman. Lacking direct evidence or even a corpse, the accusations against Mr. Richards could not stand. He was set free on the spot. I think that had it not been for the intervention of that young expatriate, we might have been stranded in that Amazonian swamp for all eternity.
Well, thank you for your assistance.
That's all right. Don't hesitate to seek my help.
Don't listen to that milk toast. He gets positively weak in the knees over redheads. A policeman is just a policeman. That's it. If Richards isn't in jail, it's only because he had nothing to do there.
We were talking about the tragedy which occurred during your previous tour, and...
You aren't the press, are you? No. In my opinion, you seem more like policemen. Well, listen closely, inspectors. Miss Davenport was nothing more than an aging woman who adored seeing all the men at her feet.
What? Don't you mean...
She toyed with both Richards and Jeffries like two little puppets. Dwight Richards is quick-tempered, but he wouldn't harm a hair on her head. And if you are eager to be so helpful, please, find my red-haired wig.
we must continue our investigation.
Of course, of course.
Hello, miss. I'm sorry for disturbing you.
Oh, you are welcome.
Are you rehearsing the new play?
Yes, we are hard at work. Excuse me, did I just hear Mr. Kirby calling you Holmes? Is it really possible that you were the great detective, Sherlock Holmes, and you were Dr. Watson?
I'm investigating the facts of the terrible events that occurred during the company's last tour.
Oh, I see. You were interested in that case. It's still a complete mystery, even for those who were there.
Tell us about Miss Davenport.
She was fabulous and positively mesmerised men. She confessed to me that she had been indiscreet with our costumier, Jeffries. She had left Richards before, but she always came back to him. She said he understood her completely without her even saying a word.
Until that last time.
Forgive an admiring expert, but your earring is absolutely magnificent.
Oh, that was a gift from Veronica. She got it along with 2 other matching earrings and a small jewel case. She gave me this one, another to Doris, and kept the most beautiful for herself. Veronica insisted on cleansing it herself weekly with a special cleanser. It was remarkable and kept the earring all sparkling like stars. When I saw her last, Veronica was wearing her earring. She never parted with it.
Where can we find Doris?
She must be in her dressing room.
Goodbye, miss, and thanks.
You're welcome, Mr. Holmes.
Pardon?
Why can people not allow actors their peace and quiet? They walk through here as if it were a common thoroughfare. Nothing strange about that. They still haven't bothered to change the locks. Anyone can enter at will and abuse me. Me, who in the 50s, I was rather good actually. Did you see me? With the best, me. And they just treat me, and oh.
Are you rehearsing?
Everyone has his own technique. Cheers.
Miss Small told you about your earring. Would you mind showing it to us?
It can't be sold. Do you think that actors have no heart? I would prefer dying of thirst than parting with it. My friend, my best friend Veronica, who I love like my own daughter, she gave it to me. My little Veronica. Veronica.
Do you know what has happened to your friend?
Left. She left with that Jeffries. Oh, I know what they say. That Richards murdered them both. Why not? He did everything for them. Everything. She was naught but a common flower girl, and that Jeffries was a mere servant. He made them actors. Yes, actors. Yes.
Oh, we'd better leave you to your
Out! I need to concentrate.
Who is it?
Mr. Richards, my name is Sherlock Holmes. You may put away your knife. Rest assured, I am indeed Sherlock Holmes. Thank you for receiving us, Mr. Richards. Would you mind if I asked you a few questions?
I will answer your questions, Mr. Holmes, only because I have heard about you.
Would you tell me about Sir Bromsby?
I will not lie to you, I hated Bromsby. He is the cause of all my troubles, I swear. I have often dreamed of killing Bromsby with my own 2 hands, but I didn't kill him.
Do you know an Asian named Wang Jie?
What would he be doing there? Well, in the days of the Fairfax Theatre, I once employed a Chinese fellow who went by that name. However, I was forced to dismiss him because he was a great deal of trouble, and I've never seen him since that time.
You retain several keys from the Fairfax Theatre, don't you?
Well, I don't understand the purpose of your questions, but yes, there were indeed 2 keys for the Fairfax Theatre main door. When the bank took possession, we gave only one of them to Bromsby's assistant. When asked, we lied and said there was only 1 key.
But why?
Well, we kept the other one out of spite. We had thoughts of returning in the night and wreaking havoc, but we had no opportunity, as we left for abroad after the transfer to go on our tour. I suppose the key may have been lost somewhere along our travels.
About the disappearance of Miss Davenport.
I don't know why you want to talk about it. Does some vile curiosity cause you to torment me in this way?
Thank you, Mr. Richards.
It is nothing, Mr. Holmes.
I should reveal one of my hints.
Oh, this can't be possible. How did you come by this? Dear God, if only someone like yourself had been present that evening.
Please tell us what's happened.
That night, after the performance, I left to stroll alone along the riverbank. The next morning, I had barely returned when I was seized by 2 local policemen and led to a prison cell for interrogation.
Why?
When I got there, an Englishman, the local chief of police, told me that a deserted boat had been discovered along the opposite bank of the river. Inside the boat, they found a star covered with blood. It belonged to Veronica, who had vanished, along with my other partner, Jeffries.
And then what happened?
No one could prove my innocence, but they also found no proof of my complicity in these events, nor had they found any bodies.
Tell us a little more about your partners.
I had met Jeffries while on tour. He was just a young tramp drunkard. Whatever my feelings were then, I feel no pity for him now. He betrayed me, but it wasn't the same with Veronica. I fear the pain caused by these events will forever haunt me.
Thank you, Mr. Richards.
It is nothing, Mr. Holmes.
This man is a wonderful actor.
Maybe, Watson. Maybe.
What chaos!
A set of costumes. There are 30 listed.
Through the flying dragons of the Virgin Islands, the land of gargantuan man-eating crabs, love in the heart of the Black Desert. This author seems to be particularly inept. But I count only 29. Yes, the artillery officer uniform is missing. We are in the backstage area.
May I ask you a few questions?
It all depends on what you're asking.
What are you doing?
My job, my lord. I'm making this jumble look a bit neater.
Could you tell me what happened in Brazil?
Yes, my lord, I was there when it happened, but Mr. Richards takes it very personally if we chat about those times, and I won't risk my position without some consideration, if you get my meaning.
Here's 5 guineas. How's that?
Oh, my lord, you're too kind. I don't really know much of what happened. You see, I was alone at a tavern that night, and I was, as one could say, very fond of the local alcohol. When I returned to our lodgings, I learned that the actress and the costumier had taken to their heels.
And what did you do then?
I made my way to the inn with all haste to learn what they'd taken in their sudden departure. You must understand my position. I was solely responsible for the security of the luggage and troop properties. Can you then imagine my surprise when I saw that nothing was missing? Absolutely nothing. They hadn't even taken their personal items. I can understand that of a man like Jeffreys, but it was most unusual for a lady such as Miss Veronica. So the idea came to me that perhaps they hadn't truly left, you see.
And what of Dwight Richards?
I learned that Mr. Richards had been seized by the local authorities. It seemed he was under suspicion for the murder of the missing lovers. This was too incredible. And then there's another odd thing that weighs on my mind. When we finally returned to England, Mr. Richards asked me to do him a small personal service. What was strange was that he insisted I keep the matter confidential and not breathe a word of it to anyone.
What kind of service?
Well, there's a small room with an iron door located above the backstage. It was used to store the stage lights and fireworks. He asked me to help him move all of Miss Veronica's personal belongings to the room. Every little thing, without exception. Her large trunk, her dresses, all of it.
Where is this room?
The end of the passage, but there is one difficulty. You see, Mr. Richards has the only key to the room's iron door, because only he has a complete set of keys to this building.
Goodbye, my friend.
My respects, my lord.
She is fabulous, isn't she?
Do you have a complete set of keys to the theatre?
Oh, yes. Take them. But you will see to their safe return.
Are you a part of the Goodbye, young man. Watson, stay there and inform me if Richards arrives.
All right, Holmes.
Let us see whether we can find other evidence. A gift from the gods. I need something. Nice pattern made of encrusted nacre. What does it mean? This lock has never been forced. I see. To open the safe, I must have the 2 other earrings.
Where your wig is?
I cannot take her earring.
Oh, my stars.
Would you mind lending me your earring? I shall give it back to you in a few moments.
Certainly. Maybe you would like to borrow Doris's earring as well. I don't believe she would give it to you, but to me, certainly. If you wait here, I will get it for you.
Watson, stay there and inform me if Richards arrives.
All right, Holmes.
It is elementary. Richards and Miss Davenport standing in front of the old Fairfax Theatre. But who is this third man? Descriptions of exotic landscapes. Nothing of interest.
Well, well, gentlemen, you arrive at precisely the right moment.
Is your good mood a sign that you have found something of interest?
Absolutely, Holmes. It seems to me I caught the right end this time.
What? Really?
We learned about it only by chance. It appears that at 1 o'clock this morning, Grimble arranged for his solicitors to send his demands to the court for the appropriation of Bromsby Enterprises. My men will spare nothing in their search for the elusive Grimble.
Lestrade, pray continue.
Then I followed your advice and we advanced further into our investigation of Mr. Richards. Did you know that his true name is Gaetano Riccardino? As this Mr. Riccardino, at age 19, he was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment for armed robbery of a fair stall. And who would you think the complainant was in this case? In truth, a certain Melvin Bromsby. This new evidence of his criminal past makes him another principal suspect in these murders.
Very interesting. Any other findings?
It would seem that Grimble and Richards are old associates. They were both intimately involved in the sale and transfer of the Fairfax Theatre. These two make quite a pair, don't you agree?
Well, Lestrade, I'll keep my thoughts on these matters secret for the moment.
Bah, you're not playing according to Hoyle. Really, Holmes, you must at least tell me your opinions on Richards.
Mr. Richards is an intelligent person. He is a man of great personal resources. If I had the power of Scotland Yard at my disposal, I would take all steps necessary to ensure that Mr. Richards is secure within a prison cell. And the sooner the better for all concerned. When the case involves murder, it is not wise to underestimate any possibilities.
You are a good man, Holmes. I swear upon my name that within the space of an hour our friend Mr. Richards will be warming a cold cell at Dartmoor.
Very well, my friend. By the way, I would like to see you tomorrow at Sherringford Hall to discuss in greater detail some of the more puzzling elements of this case. Can I expect you?
I would not miss it for the world. This is most fortuitous, as Miss Bromsby also invited me to the hall. I was told they had good news to share, and it seems to me an engagement announcement must be at hand.
So, we shall see you tomorrow. Let us return to Baker Street.
Well, is Lestrade right? This case does seem resolved.
There is but one piece missing that I need to complete this puzzle. Oh, it's not very important from the criminal point of view, but from the economic aspects of this case, it is essential. Regarding the question of whether Lestrade is correct, I will give you 2 items that should provide the answer that you seek. The first is a table representing the shoe sizes of the main characters in this case. Examine it carefully, Watson.
A parcel for you, Mr. Holmes.
Ah, this would be Mycroft. Here is the final piece, which completes our puzzle, Watson.
Would this be the second element?
What second element?
You have just said that in order to determine if Lestrade is correct, I would need to consider 2 items. You told me about the shoe sizes, and I ask if this news article is the second clue.
Oh, no account. The second clue is a question. A very simple question. The answer will take the grass under the feet of several English citizens. For if they cannot even guess the answer to this question, they are for the gallows. The question is as follows. Watson, do you think that Horace Fowler slept with a cushion? It seems to me that we have gathered all of the key elements, Watson. However, before we retire, let's summarize our findings. The questions should be answered yes or no and justified by the evidence or testimony received during the investigation. It is simplicity itself, Watson. We have answered all the questions.